It is a curious thing, perhaps one of the most singular confusions of our time. When we hear the word faith, most of us immediately think of belief. We think of a fervent, almost muscular mental effort to hold on to a set of ideas. We imagine that to have faith means you must subscribe, without hesitation, to a specific list of dogmas, to certain rigid statements about the nature of God, the mechanics of the universe, and your specific, assigned place within it. We treat faith as if it were a membership card to a club, valid only so long as you agree with the bylaws. But I want to suggest to you, and I want us to explore this deeply, that this is precisely what faith is not. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the person who clings most tightly, most desperately to their beliefs, may actually possess the least amount of faith. Why do I say this? Because faith is not clinging, is not holding on, is not a mental clenching of the fists. To understand faith, you must understand the water. Imagine a man drowning. He is thrashing, he is screaming, he is grabbing at the water as if he could pull himself up by it. He tries to clutch the waves as if they were solid rock. And what happens? The more he struggles, the more he tenses his muscles, the faster he sinks. His very effort to save himself is the thing that pulls him under. Now consider the swimmer. When you swim, you do not grab hold of the water. You cannot grab water, it slips through your fingers. Instead, you do something that seems, to the fearful mind, like madness. You trust yourself to it. You relax. You lean back. You let the water support you. You float because you have ceased to struggle, because you have surrendered your weight to the deep. The moment you stiffen, the moment you panic and try to force the water to hold you, you sink. So it is with faith. Faith is not a fortress of ideas you build to keep the world out. Faith is the act of floating. It is a state of total openness, of radical trust in the process of life itself. It is the sensation of being carried by something vast, something immeasurable, something you cannot grasp, cannot define, and cannot control. But we must be honest, this is a frightening prospect for most human beings. The human mind, by its very evolutionary nature, desires security. It wants to know what is around the corner. It wants to know that the sun will rise, that the paycheck will come, that there is a plan. And belief, rigid, structured belief, provides that artificial sense of security. Belief wraps the chaotic, terrifying beauty of reality into tidy little packages. It gives names to the nameless. It gives explanations to the inexplicable. It tells you, do not worry about the dark. Here is a diagram of it. But true faith, the faith that the great mystics of all traditions speak of, begins exactly where belief ends. It arises when we surrender the need to define, to control, to explain, and instead we rest in the infinite mystery of what is. And so, let us walk together into this mystery. Not to accumulate more beliefs, you have enough of those already, but perhaps to finally let them go. You see, what we are speaking about here is not a philosophy to be adopted. It is not a system of doctrines you need to memorize so you can pass a cosmic exam at the end of your life. It is rather an experience. Or more precisely, it is the act of experiencing. Faith is something that operates deep in your being, in your gut, in your bones, not simply in the chattering executive center of your mind. It is not an opinion you hold. It is a way of relating to the world. Curiously, and somewhat tragically, much of Western religion has inverted this. In many traditions, particularly as Christianity developed over the centuries, an enormous, crushing emphasis has been placed on correct belief. Orthodoxy, the right opinion. We ask, do you accept the right dogmas? Do you agree with the right doctrines? Are you saying the specific approved words about God? We are told that we are saved not by works, but by faith. Yet, ironically, that faith has been reduced to mere intellectual assent. It has become a matter of signing a contract. I believe that statements A, B, and C are historically and metaphysically true. But belief in this sense is incredibly fragile. Think about it. If your spiritual life depends on a specific set of facts being true, then you are always on the defensive. Belief must be defended. It is a castle made of glass. It is always in danger of being contradicted by a new scientific discovery, by a historian, by a philosopher, or by the tragic events of your own life. That is why belief so often leads to fanaticism. The fanatic is not someone with too much faith. The fanatic is someone with no faith at all, who is terrified that his beliefs might be wrong. He clings so tightly to his ideas that he must destroy anything that threatens them. He shouts to drown out his own doubt. Faith, on the other hand, needs no defense. The one who truly has faith can afford to be open, flexible, even playful. Why? because they trust the underlying process of life itself without needing to catch it in a net of words. To have faith is like falling backwards into infinite space, trusting that you will be caught, though you cannot see by whom, and you cannot see by what. Now, if faith is this openness, this trust in the unfolding of the cosmos, then what about knowing God? That, too, has been gravely and painfully misunderstood. In the deep history of our traditions, particularly in the mystical roots of Christianity, we are told a secret that has been largely forgotten, that God can never truly be known by the mind, that the infinite cannot be grasped by the finite, that God, being the ultimate reality, resists every attempt to capture him with thought. If you can think it, it isn't God. And yet look at our history. We have spent 2,000 years debating what to believe about God. Endless arguments, councils, wars, creeds, and declarations. Do you believe in the Trinity? Do you believe in the transubstantiation? Do you believe in the virgin birth? These are fascinating questions perhaps, but they are beliefs about God. They are not God. A menu is a very useful thing, but is not the dinner. And we have spent centuries fighting over the menu while starving for the meal. Very early on, the Christian church rejected a movement called Gnosticism. Now, the Gnostics were a complex bunch, but they emphasized gnosis, direct, experiential knowledge of the divine. They didn't want to believe in Jesus. They wanted to experience the Christ consciousness. They spoke of three types of people: the pneumatic, the spiritual ones who knew; the psychic, the soul-centered ones who believed; and the hylic, the material ones concerned only with the world of things. Orthodox Christianity rejected this, and perhaps rightly so on one specific point. The Gnostics often hated the physical world. They thought matter was a trap. But we threw the baby out with the bathwater, for spirit and matter need not be enemies. After all, the central miracle of Christianity, the very hinge of history in that tradition, is the incarnation, the idea that the Word became flesh. The infinite took form. The divine entered the mud, the blood, and the sweat of the material world. As St. Athanasius so boldly said, God became man that man might become God. And yet, you rarely hear that in church today. It sounds too dangerous. It sounds too wild. For many, the focus remains not on experiencing the divine directly, but on adhering to the corporate policies of the universe. And this is the great tragedy of confusing belief with faith. In the mystical tradition, especially among the Christian Neoplatonists, there is a beautiful, shimmering paradox. They taught that the highest knowledge of God is a kind of unknowing. They called it agnosia. Now, this is not ignorance in the sense of being stupid or uneducated. It is a special, luminous kind of knowledge that comes through stripping away. Dionysius the Areopagite, that mysterious, anonymous figure of early Christian mysticism, taught that God is best known by removing every concept we try to place upon him. This is the path of negative theology, the via negativa. We love to say what God is. God is light. God is love. God is justice. But Dionysius would say, be careful. God is not one, for unity is a human concept. God is not spirit, for spirit is a word we use to distinguish from matter. God is not even existence in the way we understand existing. For all these concepts fall short. They are tiny boxes. The more you try to define God, the further away you move. For any concept, any image, is less than the reality. If you see something and say, I have found God, here he is, you have only seen a creature of God, or perhaps an angel, or perhaps a projection of your own mind, but not God himself. There is a cloud of unknowing, as one medieval mystic beautifully called it. And this cloud is where true faith lives, is not a blankness, is not a void of nothingness, is not the absence of thought in the sense of a dead sleep. No, it is a fullness too vast for any single thought to contain. It is a silence that is loud with presence. And here, if you look with clear eyes, the traditions of the East and the West meet and embrace. For the Hindus call this jnana, which is the same root word as gnosis. The sages of India speak of it as neti neti, not this, not this. You peel away the layers of the onion. Is God my body? No. Is God my thoughts? No. Is God my emotions? No. Is God the universe? No, he is more. You strip away every concept until only the mystery remains. In this unknowing, we fall back into the infinite. We stop grasping. We stop trying to turn God into an object like a chair or a planet that we can look at. We realize instead that God is the very ground of the looking itself. God is not what you see. God is the light by which you see. When you explore deeply enough, the boundaries between traditions begin to dissolve like sugar in hot water. The Christians speak of the cloud of unknowing. The Hindus say neti neti. The Buddhists speak of sunyata, the great void. But all point toward the same experiential mystery. However, we must be very careful here. There is a trap, a very seductive trap. The highest realization is not to escape the world, is not to shut down the senses, to retreat into a cave and sit in catatonic blankness. That is a profound misunderstanding of the spiritual life. In some traditions, and in the minds of many seekers, there is this idea that enlightenment means turning yourself into a stone, that you must sit unmoving, deaf and blind to the desires of the world, as if ultimate wisdom were the absence of life itself. But no, the great Chinese Zen masters warned against this very error. They called it stone Zen. To confuse emptiness with deadness is to miss the point entirely. True emptiness, true sunyata, is not a void that excludes things. It is a space that includes all things without being stained by any of them. Think of space itself. Space contains the sun, the moon, the stars, the pollution, the beauty, the wars, and the flowers. Yet space is never burned by the sun, is never wet by the water. You cannot hammer a nail into space. You cannot spit on the sky and soil it. Your mind, your true nature is like that space. It contains every thought, every feeling, every tragedy, every joy, but remains fundamentally unstained. The Hindus call the ultimate state nirvikalpa samadhi, non-conceptual awareness. But this does not mean you become a vegetable. It means awareness free from the chains of concepts. It is an openness so vast that nothing is excluded, yet nothing clings. This is not the emptiness of death, it is the fullness of life overflowing. And so we come to what may be the most beautiful paradox of all. The highest state of consciousness is not one that withdraws from life, but one that fully, radically embraces it. If nirvana, the ultimate peace, and samsara, the cycle of suffering, are truly one, as the Mahayana Buddhists insist, then the awakened one does not flee the world. The Bodhisattva, the ideal figure of Buddhism, is not wrapped in a trance, hovering in some otherworldly bliss while the world burns. No, he is here. She is here, fully present, fully engaged, moving through the world of buying and selling, loving and losing, with the grace that comes from knowing there is nothing to fear. The spirit becomes flesh. The word becomes life. The infinite expresses itself through the finite. You see, if the highest reality were some exclusive state, some frozen, silent void away from the noise of traffic, it would contradict itself. For what is truly infinite must leave nothing outside. If God is everywhere, he's in the traffic as much as in the temple. The non-dual reality contains all opposites. It is not one in the sense of one opposed to two. It is not nothing in the sense of nothing opposed to something. It's simply is. Boundless, measureless, all, like space. No edge, no outside, no division. You may even glimpse it in the curious shape of a Klein bottle, that mathematical curiosity, a 3D Mobius strip. It has no inside and no outside. If you walk along its surface, you transition from the inner to the outer without ever crossing an edge. This is how reality truly is. Seamless, continuous, undivided. We draw lines, this is me, that is you, this is inside, that is outside, but the lines are in our heads, not in nature. The highest realization is not to escape life, but to see that you were never separate from it at all. Now you might ask, and it is a fair question, if the awakened one lives fully in the world, why do we speak so often of meditation? Why retreat? Why sit on cushions? Why the discipline, the incense, the bells, the practice? Meditation, you see, is not the goal. It is a medicine, not a diet. It is a tool. When you wish to open a heavy door, you may pick up a brick to knock, but you do not carry the brick into the house and put it on the dinner table. When you wish to cross a raging river, you build a raft. You paddle diligently to the other side. But once you have reached the shore of understanding, you do not hoist the heavy raft onto your back and carry it for the rest of your journey across the land. That would be absurd. And yet, many become attached to the practices themselves. They confuse the raft for the destination. They turn the doorway into a revolving door. They get into the revolving door of religion or spiritual practice, and they push and they push. They go round and round saying, "Oh, what a marvelous experience this meditation is. Look how spiritual I am becoming. Look at my posture. Look at my discipline." They become fascinated by the spinning, by the sensation of movement, forgetting entirely that the whole point was to walk through into life itself. Spiritual practice can become a subtle, dangerous form of spiritual vanity. Is the ego sneaking in the back door? It becomes a game of, I am more spiritual than you. I meditate longer than you. I have dissolved my ego more thoroughly than you have. Do you see the irony? The biggest ego in the room is often the one boasting about having none. Be very careful of this. The purpose of meditation is to prepare the mind to release its grasping, is to calm the waters so you can see the bottom, is to see through the illusion of separation. And finally, the ultimate act of faith is to drop even the meditation itself. The awakened one walks freely, neither clinging to practices nor rejecting them. He uses them when needed and sets them down when not. For he has seen that all tools are temporary. What matters is not the method, but the surrender. And now, we arrive at the delightful heart of the matter. True faith is not grim, is not serious in the sense of a rigid, puritanical solemnity, is not a heavy burden to carry, forcing you to walk with your head down. It is rather a dance, a play, a cosmic joke of sorts. You see, all the doctrines, all the beliefs, all the elaborate structures of theology, they are fingers pointing at the moon. The moon is the truth, the light, the reality. The teaching is just the finger. And the tragedy of religious history is that we have become a species that stares at the finger. We worship the finger. We argue about the cleanliness of the finger. We bite the finger. And we never lift our eyes to see the moon. The one who truly has faith can laugh. Not a cynical laugh, but a joyous one. Because he knows deeply, viscerally, that he is not in control, and that is okay. He has let go of the tiller. He falls backwards into infinite space, not knowing, not needing to know, but trusting utterly that the process of existence will catch him. In Zen, they have a saying, be kind to the crazy ones, for their souls are already with God. And perhaps, in a certain sense, true faith is a kind of holy madness. It is the willingness to surrender control in a world obsessed with control. It is the willingness to abandon certainty in a world obsessed with facts. It is the willingness to rejoice in not knowing. You see, there is a great secret game played in spiritual circles. The game of seriousness, the game of importance. But the universe itself is not serious, it is playful. Look at it. The exuberant wastefulness of nature, the millions of seeds to grow one tree, the bizarre shapes of deep-sea fish, the sheer scale of the galaxies. This is not the work of a grim accountant. This is the work of a musician, a dancer. A parasite is someone who keeps going through the revolving door, but only because someone else keeps giving it a push. But the one who walks right through, who leaves the door behind, who steps into the great mystery without the need to carry any tools, any labels, any beliefs, that one is free. That one is truly alive. And so in the end, what is faith? Is not belief, is not doctrine, is not the fevered clinging to ideas that make us feel safe in the dark. Faith is surrender, is the courage to release your grasp on the banks of the river, to stop clutching, stop resisting, stop swimming upstream, and simply allow. To trust the flow of existence the way you trust the water when you float, knowing it will carry you, though you cannot command it. To live in faith is to fall backwards into the arms of the universe. Arms you cannot see, cannot define, cannot control, but which you know, in the silence of your own heart, are always there. Is to awaken in the morning with no guarantee, no certainty, no assurance of what tomorrow will bring, and yet to breathe, to smile, to walk forward knowing that you are already home. The great mystery is not a problem to be solved, is not a code to be cracked, is a melody to be sung. You do not solve music. You play it, you dance with it, you vibrate with it. And so it is with life. Faith is not about having the answers to the riddle. It is about being at peace without them. In the words of an old Zen master, simple and sharp as a knife. When you walk, just walk. When you sit, just sit. Above all, don't wobble. That is faith. To stand in the center of the mystery, perfectly balanced, perfectly open, and to let the universe live through you.